Commander Jetta Harrow had seen combat on 3 gas giants, once defused a bomb using a baby monitor and a tactical spoon, and survived a week-long seminar on intergalactic politeness protocols without flipping a single table, though the twitch in her left eye had never quite recovered. But this? This was her personal hell, a crayon-colored cargo bay full of diplomatic liabilities. The sign outside said, "Secure learning habitat," but anyone with 2 functioning neurons and an allergy to glitter could tell it was a barely rebranded supply room covered in foam mats and broken hologram projectors. 12 human children, classified. Under Earth Directive Z098B, don't let these gremlins near anything that goes boom. We're currently practicing dodgeball with questionable gravity settings, while 2 alien observers from the Glon Federation took notes and hyperventilated into sterilized oxygen cones. "Commander," one of them squeaked, his eye stalks recoiling every time a child giggled, "is that contact sports?" Jetta didn't answer. She was too busy counting. 12 heads. Check. None of them glowing today. Good. No one had an drawn on the antimatter panel again. Yet. She'd warned them about the crayons. No one had listened. Behind her, Clyde, the station's sentient AI with the voice of a disillusioned elevator operator, muttered through the intercom. "Reminder, it is against policy to weaponize snacks, even during nap time." Jetta responded without looking. "Up. Tell that to Max. He turned a pudding cup into a gravity mine yesterday." Diplomats floated by outside the observation dome, whispering in 42 languages and making tisk sounds that meant everything from "those humans are a disgrace" to "we fear their power and also their snacks." The Slinth envoy had already tried to file a complaint after a 4-year-old named Lila had offered him a friendship bracelet and a half-eaten granola bar, which apparently violated 8 trade regulations and 1 religious prohibition. Jetta leaned on the rail, arms crossed, analyzing the chaos below with tactical precision. She didn't trust stillness. Stillness meant plotting. Stillness meant someone had found the emergency override and was about to flush the station's ball pit into deep space again. Then, without warning, the floor trembled. Not the normal kind of tremble, the "a kid just cannonballed into the 0G zone" tremble. No, this was the "I just felt the vibration of quantum stupidity about to happen" kind. Alarms blared. Flashing crimson glyphs lit up the walls. Jetta's jaw clenched. "Clyde!" she barked, already sprinting toward the nearest lift shaft. "Status report! Dumb it down for the Glons." Clyde sighed, like an exhausted teacher on the last day of school. "A quantum grilled cheese reactor under the play zone has destabilized. Cause unknown. Possibly Max. Also possibly you for allowing dairy products in a high-risk entropy field." Jetta slapped the emergency override. Bulkheads slammed down, slicing access in half, sealing the kids below with exactly 1 functional vent and 30 minutes of breathable air, assuming none of them tried to inhale a crayon again. "Atmospheric pressure stabilizing. Barely. Like a drunk octopus balancing a teacup," Clyde added helpfully. "I want full schematic access and radiation readouts yesterday," Jetta snapped, barreling down a side corridor, dodging a floating tray of space tacos and 3 alien interns who dove for cover at the sight of her tactical stride. "Also prep the damn mop suit, the one rated for multiverse leaks." The diplomatic council began chiming in one by one, their holograms flickering into her path like particularly smug pop-up ads. "Commander Harrow," drawled Ambassador Splenvax of the Tarquin Ascendancy, "this may be a breach of Galactic Statute 14F regarding interspecies containment." "Suck my statute, Splenvax," Jetta growled, slamming her hand into the lift panel. "There are kids down there, and one of them has glue. You want a real diplomatic incident?" Somewhere above, the Slinth emergency protocols tried to trigger a detonation lockdown, because the children, technically, were considered hazard class biological anomalies. But Jetta disabled it mid-sprint with her wrist pad, muttering, "Try blowing up my kids and I'll staple your trade agreements to your kneecaps." As she disappeared into the access tunnel, two things became clear across the interstellar handoff nexus. 1. Earth didn't do diplomacy the way everyone else did. And 2. If you trap 12 human children under a station built by sentient paperwork and optimism, the only person who can save you is a woman trained to wrestle chaos into submission with duct tape, sarcasm, and tactical juice boxes. And her name was Commander Jetta Harrow. The moment Commander Jetta Harrow landed on subdeck C-42, the station's emergency lighting flickered with all the grace of a hungover firefly. Red pulses strobed across the walls, as if the entire diplomatic sector had decided to throw a rave for bureaucratic failure. The floor beneath her boots vibrated with the telltale hum of a quantum reactor attempting to die dramatically. Over the radio, the AI Clyde's voice crackled in like an annoyed librarian. Radiation levels are rising with appropriate narrative tension. Oxygen within the enrichment containment module is dropping. Also, the children have found a bag of marshmallows. One is attempting to cook them using a hot panel. Would you like their last words recorded? Jetta didn't respond. She was too busy prying open a sealed pressure hatch with a crowbar shaped suspiciously like a toy sword, courtesy of Max, age 6, who believed all tactical breaches should be done with. Flare. A klaxon screamed above her head as automated drones whizzed by, two of which were already trailing marshmallow fluff, another entangled in what looked like glow-in-the-dark shoelaces and shame. Clyde, Jetta snapped. Reroute filtration. From Deck K, cut gravity on sub-level 3 to buy time, and patch me into the damn enrichment comms now. There was a pause, followed by a sigh that somehow sounded pixelated. You are now live with enrichment module. Please mind your language. Some of the participants are religiously affiliated with juice boxes. The comms crackled to life, and a chorus of chaos erupted. Shrieks of joy, someone singing a cursed version of Old Town Road, and at least two arguments about which color crayon was most weaponizable. Commander Harrow, came the gleeful voice of Sasha, age 8. We found the emergency snack drawer. Also, Kyle is glowing again. Jetta winced. Of course he was. Kyle had accidentally swallowed an entropy pebble last week. Stay calm, she said, crouching at a makeshift control console repurposed from a vending unit and what might once have been a Slinth Customs scanner. Help is coming. Do not eat the glowing marshmallows. A pause. Too late, Sasha replied cheerily. Kyle says his insides feel fizzy. Jetta gritted her teeth as a nearby pipe ruptured and began leaking something neon blue and probably illegal. Overhead, the Galactic Emergency Council had just convened a crisis summit, but instead of dispatching rescue units, they were busy debating whether or not this incident qualified as hostile, child-driven sabotage. Representatives from the Glon Federation attempted to file a cease and desist against Jetta's use of unauthorized heroism, and someone from the Tarquin Ascendancy demanded to know if Earth's children had been genetically modified to resist punishment. In response, Jetta uploaded a live feed of the children duct-taping a chair to the ceiling and calling it the Throne of Doom. The council went silent for 30 seconds. One alien fainted. Get me Ambassador Zarnell now, Jetta barked, kicking open a service panel and crawling into the shaft that led to the broken module. Her voice was tight, clipped, but beneath it was a nuclear level of maternal fury. If anyone slows me down, I swear I will make them babysit during snack time. Meanwhile, above in the diplomatic atrium, Ambassador Zarnell Quox, a man who had negotiated ceasefires between plasma-fanged insectoids using only caffeine and passive-aggressive PowerPoints, was sweating into his 4th cup of espresso. She's going to breach an active reactor with nothing but sarcasm and a crowbar, he muttered. The Slinth ambassador hissed, This is highly unorthodox. Zarnell slammed his mug down. So are human children. Back below, Jetta had reached the last corridor before the containment zone. It was sealed tight, barricaded by a panicked security team from the Glon Federation, who were arguing over whether self-sacrificing parental units were even covered in the treaty's disaster clauses. Out of the way, Jeddah growled, eyes blazing. But there's no safe way in, one of the Glons protested. Jeddah took a deep breath, pulled out a cylindrical device labeled Plan B for use when logic fails, and slammed it into the wall. The molecular discontinuity. Cannon powered up with a whine that could only be described as galactically rude. I'm not here to be safe, she said. I'm here to parent. The cannon fired. The wall melted. Jeddah Harrow, human, SEAL, and the galaxy's least qualified babysitter, charged into a collapsing learning module filled with quantum fallout, graham cracker dust, and the most powerful force the galaxy had ever underestimated. 12 sugared-up children who called her Mama Boom. Commander Jeddah Harrow burst into the enrichment module like a thunderclap wrapped in camo and maternal wrath, the remains of the melted bulkhead fizzling behind her with the acrid scent of carbonized bureaucracy. What greeted her was not devastation or panic, but a small-scale war zone disguised as a playdate. Dozens of floating foam shapes, holographic dinosaurs glitching into interpretive dance, and children orchestrating what could only be described as a juicebox-powered feudal society. Sasha was holding court on a stack of hover crates, wearing a towel cape and declaring herself Supreme Snack Queen, while Max wielded 2 electrified spoons like twin daggers, defending his corner of the habitat from invisible threats. Kyle, who had indeed eaten the glowing marshmallow, hovered suspiciously in the air, pulsing faintly blue and reciting the alphabet backward while drawing smiley faces on the walls with radiation markers. Jeddah's boots crunched over broken cereal puffs as she shouted, "Everyone freeze! Literally, if you're still glowing." At once the kids turned, smiled, and tackled her with enough force to knock a lesser diplomat into the next dimension. "Mama Boom!" they cried in chorus, their official nickname for the woman who once vaporized a treaty drone for trying to confiscate their bedtime stories. Overhead, the air filtration system coughed ominously, and Clyde's voice chimed, in like a passive-aggressive opera ghost. "Containment collapse in 15 minutes. Ventilation compromised. Recommend parental-level evacuation or sacrifice." Jeddah grunted as she disentangled herself from the toddler pile and toggled her comms. "Zarnell, I need a ride yesterday. And backup, preferably something that doesn't panic around finger paint." Above, the Galactic Council had devolved into screeching chaos. The Glons insisted sending rescue violated Article 77F, no interference with ongoing human domestic rituals. The Tarquans argued that the kids should be declared war-endorsed biological anomalies and stored in cryo for safety. But then, an unexpected voice joined the fray. Dr. Irixel of Tarqua, infamous for her belief that emotions were a form of contagious fungus, stood and calmly declared, "Send me in." Every alien in the chamber recoiled. "You!" hissed the Slinth ambassador. "You once filed a report stating that a toddler's sneeze gave you PTSD." Irixel adjusted her monocular goggles with unsettling serenity. "Yes, and I believe I can navigate their logic now. It is chaotic, but consistent, like algebra done by bees." Meanwhile, High-Tensor Vel Drax, the gelatinous radiation-proof tank being formerly accused of war crimes involving dance music, rolled up to the emergency hatch with an audible squelch. "Heard you needed extraction," he rumbled. "Also, I brought fruit snacks, the sticky kind." "Perfect!" Jeddah snapped, tossing Kyle into a fire-resistant cuddle net as Sasha began negotiating a new throne tax in marshmallows. "Welcome to the apocalypse. Hope you brought wet wipes." Together, the trio of misfit rescuers, one human chaos incarnate, one traumatized biologist, and one giggling jelly brick, entered the breach armed with a stolen blueprint of the Station, an emotional regulation app written by a 10-year-old, and the universal truth that you never argue with a child holding a glitter grenade. As they navigated through collapsing corridors and impromptu pillow barricades, Irixel observed the children like a wildlife documentary narrator, murmuring, "Fascinating. They barter in stickers. One just attempted diplomacy using interpretive dance. I feel awe." and mild panic. Veldrax, meanwhile, was somehow teaching them how to chew through bulkhead insulation to create breathing vents. "They're adapting faster than expected," he hummed. "One just invented taxation." The comms crackled again with Zarnell's voice, desperate and slightly strangled. "Jetta, the Council has moved to a formal inquiry on your unilateral weaponization of education. They want a written statement." "Tell them to eat crayons!" she barked, slamming open a control panel and hot-wiring life support from the adjacent janitorial unit. Because apparently, vacuuming and air purification shared the same wiring logic in this galactic disaster piece. "I'm bringing them out. If they want answers, they can chase us through the ventilation ducts like everyone else." Alarms crescendoed into a high-pitched scream. Hull stress climbed to levels labeled "Nope," and 12 kids clung to Jetta like a living tactical vest as she led the charge toward the extraction point, her allies flanking her with snack, packs, and confused respect. Somewhere above, the galactic order began to fracture not from war, but from the realization that Earth's greatest weapon was not its armies, nor its tech, but the sheer existential terror of its parenting style. And they weren't even through nap time yet.